So hi everyone, welcome to this webinar. I hope you and all your loved ones are well. My name's Abby and I am the chair of the Greenhead College Student Association. I'm really glad you can make it today and thank you for sending in all your excellent questions. We hope to get through as many as we can. Firstly, I'm going to hand you over to Mer, who is our Deputy Principal, so she can run you through how the webinar is going to work.
Thanks, Abby. Hi everyone, thank you for joining me and the student officers this afternoon. We really appreciate you taking time out. We hope you find the session insightful and also interesting, and we're hoping to address as many of your questions as we possibly can. As you'll be aware, you can only see ourselves on screen. You can't actually send any questions during the session to us directly, but Abby's going to explain in a minute some alternative methods through social media that you can actually use. I'd like to reassure you on some points that I've received in terms of general queries from students in the last few weeks. Greenhead College will not be changing their entry requirements for September. I've had a number of queries from students worried that we're going to increase them. We are not. There will not be an entrance test either in September. Meeting our entry requirements is all you need to do. With regards to starting in September, obviously we would normally do an induction programme that would last a couple of weeks. We've extended this year because we understand the situation that you guys are in and how difficult it must be for you because you've not been in any formal education since March of this year. So please don't be anxious about stepping up from GCSE to A-level. We'll be there to support you every step of the way. To help you, we've set you some summer work also, which is on the website. If you go onto the college website and look at the subject pages that you're interested in studying at A-level, you'll find some information on there with regards to the summer work. Don't worry about it, it's nothing too stressful, it's just to help you again bridge that gap from GCSE to A-level. In addition to that, if you're studying A-levels if you're studying A-levels that you completed at GCSE, what I would recommend is that you go through the work that you've done in year 11 to the point of where you would have completed with your teachers if you'd remained in full-time education, because that will really help you again with that step up from GCSE to A-level study. In general terms, nothing's changed. All the information you've been receiving from the college stands. Continue to look out for updates on the website, and you will be receiving letters nearer to the time of enrolment to confirm processes and inviting you in for your specific timed appointments. But if I'd like to now pass back to Abby, and she's going to start addressing with the team some of the questions that you've sent in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo. So before we begin, I just want to let you know that we have a couple of other officers currently active on our Twitter and Instagram accounts. So if you have any questions during this, obviously you can't ask live to us, you can ask them on there. So our Twitter is @GreenheadC and our Instagram is @Greenhead Student Officers. So if you have any questions, they should be answered very quickly because they're completely active for the whole hour. Now we're just going to introduce ourselves a little bit. So if there are any more kind of specific questions you want to be able to ask on our social media, you can do. So as I've already said, my name's Abby and my role as chair is just kind of to organise things like this and attend governors meetings as a student governor and make sure everyone else is kind of comfortable in their individual roles. I also chair the Student Association's termly meetings. I take politics, economics and maths for my options, and for enrichment I've done drama and debate. In terms of plans for the future, I'm quite torn between uni and apprenticeships, so that's kind of a little bit about me if we want to move on to Lucy.
Okay, so I'm Lucy, I'm the Student Welfare Officer, and my role is, along with Abby, to attend the governor's meetings and also just look after any welfare issues of the students in the college. I take history, English literature and Spanish, and I've also started an extended project qualification. In terms of the future, I'm fairly sure I want to go to university, but I'm debating taking a gap year in between as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Zainab and I take biology, chemistry and maths for A-levels, and I've also started taking an EPQ. I previously went to Hetton White Grammar School before attending Greenhead, and my role as a student officer is as one of the charity officers. So that means that I'm involved with anything that the college has to do with supporting charities, so that if that's from donations that we like to give and all the way to the big annual charity day, which is definitely one of the highlights of the year, where we dress up and we take part in all sorts of fun to raise money for our chosen charity. In the future, I hope to study medicine at university. So feel free to ask me about any questions about the subjects that I take or anything else in general.
Hi, I'm Scott. I'm the finance officer. My role is sort of just to manage general finance and make sure that if there are any donations, say for Charity Day, then they get managed smoothly, and that if there's anything that as a student officers need to buy, that we can do that fairly easily. My subjects are maths, further maths, chemistry, and physics, and my enrichment is recreational basketball. At uni, I want to study medicine, and that's pretty much it. If there's any questions you'd like to ask about that, then let me know.
So that's kind of a little bit of an overview of who we are. We'll move on to the questions now. The first question is from Harrison at Saddler School, and this is a question that so many people are asking, which is about kind of like what a normal timetable looks like. So there are example timetables on the website if you go into, I think it's like student life and then like a day in the curriculum or the college day. But we have 5 lessons Monday to Thursday and then 6 on a Friday, and you'll have 4 lessons for each subject. So if you take 3 A-levels, you'll have 12 lessons during the week, and if you take 4, you'll have 16. And then within that, you also have like a tutorial period, and then the rest of your kind of day at college will be study periods or frees, which are kind of for you to do what you will with them. Most of us will like kind of do our college work and homework and whatever, but you can kind of like see friends and socialise around college.
Okay, so the next question is from Jack, who's from Rastrix, and he asks what a college day consists of. So just mainly to repeat what Abby said, you might have, you know, a few hours in the morning and then have some frees in the afternoon, or it might be that you have 1 hour in the morning and then you have to wait until the rest of the day for the afternoon. So you might do your frees in between them, or if you have it in the morning or afternoon, you might be at home and come in later or leave earlier.
Okay, so the next question is from Shazil from Crosby Heath, and they've asked, what can you do in your frees? So the frees at Greenhead College are mostly intended for independent study. So in that you might do your homework or consolidation of the content that you've covered in class. And Greenhead College has a lot of places that you can study. So you can do it in the library, the study centre, or even the subject-specific help rooms. If some people do prefer to go home, so you can go home to study there. Some enrichments can also be in your frees as well, because even though we have the main Wednesday afternoon block that is dedicated to enrichments, some can be like scattered throughout your timetable. And even though they are for independent study, you can use the odd free to relax with your friends. I certainly have. It's important not to burn out, and it can be nice to take a break with your frees, as long as it's not too often, and you can make up that time that was meant for studying later.
Sorry guys, I can't see the question. Do you mind just reading them out to me? I'm having some like technical issues.
So Clarice from Honley is asked, during lunch and where can you get food?
So there's the canteen, which a lot of people go to, and I mean the icon of our college are wedges. Everybody likes wedges because they're fairly cheap. But there's quite a wide range of things that you can get. A lot of people as well do it because quite near to college there's a lot of places you can eat. Well, there's McDonald's, there's KFC, and there's a lot of junk food, but a lot of nice places to eat as well, like Costa and stuff like that. So you can always go out of college in a study period and go there.
Okay, so Amara from Bradford Girls Grammar asked what the dress code is, and I believe we don't have any dress code, so you can wear whatever that you want. There's no uniform or anything like that. So.
Oh, sorry, Scott. Tasleem from Batley Girls asked, what is the average kind of class size?
I mean, as far as I'm aware, it depends on your subjects. I mean, a lot of them range from around, it's generally around 20, so, but I think less popular subjects will sometimes have less, whereas and a lot of popular subjects will have more. So maths can have between 20 and 30, whereas sort of small subjects can have less, but it's generally around that size.
The next question is from Alex from Sandine Nook, and they've asked what enrichments are available. Okay, so Greenhead College have a lot of enrichments. There's over 100, so there's definitely something for everyone. And there's the opportunity to try a lot too, because we do change enrichments around termly or half termly. There's a whole list available on the Greenhead College website, but some, for an example, would be the Gold Duke of Edinburgh Award, table tennis, Zumba. There's a lot. Personally, I've done medical society and creative colouring, which I both really enjoyed.
So the next question is from Amina at Batley, and that's what are the main differences between college and high school? And I think for me, there are kind of three main ones. Like firstly, independence is like a huge factor. The kind of difference between high school when it was all very routine is like massive coming to college. You know, you're kind of wearing what you want, wearing makeup if you choose to do so. You come into college usually on public transport. It's kind of up to you to go to your lessons and do the work. And that kind of ties into the second thing about the college environment, which I think is so massively different to the environment of high school, because obviously you'll have kind of like around 1,500 people in a year group, so it's such a big year group that you'll not really actually know a huge amount of people. And so I think that differs to high school, where you kind of seem to know everyone and everyone kind of knew you. And finally, I think the workload is a little bit different, as in there's definitely more work to do, and it's definitely kind of a lot more down to you. There's a lot more self-motivation needed. It's really important to be as organised as possible, and it kind of falls onto your lap a little bit more than it did at high school. And then two kind of little differences that were just absolutely mad for me were calling your teachers by their first name. It took me months. I just didn't even like refer to my teachers in the first few months because I just couldn't do it. And then the fact there's not any bells, and I know that some like high schools do that, but mine didn't, and it like took a little bit of getting used to. So yeah, just be really organised. I think that's like one of the key differences. Oh, sorry, the next one's for Scott, and it's how often are exams?
Well, I mean, again, it depends on your subject. Sometimes you'll have exams that aren't really they're not meant to sort of monitor your progress. The more so that you can go back and fill in gaps and make sure that if there is something that you're not sure on, that it's outlined and that you can go back to. But generally, it's every time you finish a topic or two topics or so, and they'll do like a progress test on that. So sometimes you can have two within a month. They're not very. You don't need to worry about them. Obviously, you have to revise for them, but it's not as important as, say, the tests that you'll get at the end of a year, which monitor your progress throughout, and those will be used for your predicted grades for going to uni. So generally speaking, it varies, but sometimes generally between once or twice a month.
Sorry, this is my question. So Ben from Honley asks, was it easy to fit in? And I would say personally for me, it was pretty easy to fit in. There's so many people in the college, and because you're taking subjects you want to do when you're doing enrichments or activities that you like, it's quite easy to find like-minded or similar people. So I would say it was very easy to fit into Greenhead College.
So the next question is from Olivia at Cone Valley, and she's asked, what equipment do you need to bring in? And I think it's fairly similar to high school in terms of like having your own pencil case, you know, like the classic pen, pencil, ruler, rubber, all of that. I think the main difference that I'd really recommend is highlighters. I mean, some people had them at high school, but I think I promise you will love highlighters at college. Just highlight everything. It makes it so much better because you'll have, I don't know if you know this, but we work out of like packs. So there'll be a lot of kind of text that you'll have to kind of absorb, and I think that's a lot easier to do with highlighters. I think the other thing to ensure that you have is, I guess, like file paper just in your bag, because sometimes you'll need to use it for exams or just to be able to kind of like write notes down on. But yeah, I think in terms of like subjects will sometimes require you to have certain more like specific things, but they'll let you know about that when you start. Like some subjects like you to kind of carry around flashcards, and then like for maths and science there are particular things that you need to get, but that'll all be explained to you when you first start, so I wouldn't really worry about anything too specific.
The next theme of questions are about subject choices. The first one is, can I change my options before starting college? From Lottie. You can change your subject choices on enrolment day, so nothing is set in stone yet, so don't worry and don't feel the need that you need to make a set decision right now.
The next one asked kind of a continuation of that was, can you change your options after starting college? Scott, do you want to answer that one?
Can you change your options before what, sorry?
After you started college.
Yeah. So, I mean, the nicest thing about sort of college is that there's sort of a trial period of 1 to 2 weeks, and you get to sort of see if you like your subjects. And obviously that's quite important when you study subjects you haven't at high school, because it might just be that the structure of the lesson throws you off entirely and you don't like it. So after sort of those 2 weeks, you can choose what subject you go to. If you've kept it safe and you realise, I actually don't really want to choose this subject, you just switch it over, and it's quite simple. And so there's nothing really to worry about. If you want to enrol with subjects that you want to try out, that's probably the best option, because you can always change them back to something that's safer and you know what the structure is like.
Next question is, what's your advice on taking 3 or 4 A-levels? From Patrick from Holmescliff. Okay, so I took further maths as a 4th subject along with my A-level maths, because I quite enjoy maths and I wanted to delve into it more. But I recently dropped this because I decided to study medicine, and I'm also doing an EPQ, so I wanted to spend more time on my medicine application because they are quite competitive and EPQ. And I think for me, further maths wouldn't have allowed me to do that, and I don't think it would have been particularly advantageous for me, so that's why I dropped it. But advice that I would give is definitely take a 4th subject if it's something that you really enjoy, and maybe you can't decide on your top 3 and you just really want to take 4, so definitely take that. It can be advantageous if you're applying to uni for some courses. For example, further maths for engineering is really good, but don't let that be the defining factor for why you choose 4. Bear in mind that you might have less frees compared to your friends and peers, because an extra subject would be 4 more hours in your timetable. And you'd also have more work to do in those frees because of the extra subject. And it can be a little more intense during exams, but many really enjoy taking 4. I mean, I've got friends that take 4 and they just really enjoy it. And you really can make it work if you manage your time well.
I also think, just as another point, just to reassure people, no one will ever expect you to have 4 A-levels. Like, unis will never ask for 4. It's never an expectation that you have 4. And I think that does concern people. Like, I don't think having 4 puts you at any advantage over someone else, unless obviously you're applying for maths and you've got further maths. But I think there's only really small circumstances where that'll be necessary. So the next question is from Polly at King James. Oh, that's my old school. Is it easy to adjust when transitioning from high school to college? So I think transitioning is a different experience for everyone. And I think that, you know, if you find that it's harder for you to fit into college than it seems to be for your friends, that's not an issue. And I think that, you know, coming to college is a pretty big step. It's a lot bigger. Oh, sorry. My computer's just gone funny. It's a lot bigger of a step than, I think, going from primary school to high school. And so I think there's kind of transitioning in 2 different ways. I think for me, I think I transitioned into the college environment really quickly, but in terms of transitioning into the workload and the subjects, that took a little bit longer. Whereas for my friends, they transitioned really quickly into picking up their subjects and workload, but actually transitioning into the environment was a different story. But I think it's just important to remember that everyone's in the same boat. Everyone is going through the exact same thing you are. How you feel is just so, like, it's fine to feel how you feel. And, you know, if you ask for help, you'll get it. You know, there's so many support systems in place in college. You can go to your tutor, just talking about it with your friends, because, you know, your friend could feel the exact same way that you do. And I think that in your head, it's probably a lot bigger than it actually is. So I really wouldn't worry about transitioning, because everyone's in the same boat. We all did it this time, like, you know, in September, and you will come through the other end. I promise. It is really something you shouldn't be worrying about too much.
Okay, so the next question is, how many hours of additional work are you expected to do? So it's recommended that you do 4 hours per subject outside of your lessons, and you can most of the time get that done in your frees and then a little bit of extra work at home. So yeah.
I'm just going to pass this question on to Mo, but it's from Naomi at All Saints, and it's what happens if I don't get the grades I need for my subjects?
Yeah, this question for this year is slightly different advice to what I would normally give. If you don't get the grades under the centre assessed grades that you were expecting, you have a couple of options. One is that if you still meet our entry requirements, please still come to enrolment even though the grades aren't quite what you'd hoped for, and enrol at Greenhead College. If you choose to take the autumn exams, which have been confirmed now in terms of the dates, you will sit those exams in November. You won't get your results till February. So that will mean that what we can't do is start you at Greenhead College, but we will guarantee you a place should you meet the college and subject entry requirements for the following academic year. But I presume that, you know, in terms of you guys, in terms of being offered a place and accepted it, your performance was where it should have been at that point anyway to meet our entry requirements. So try not to stress about it too much at the moment. We are under new circumstances at the minute with the centre assessed grades, and just get in touch if you've got any questions, and myself and the rest of the senior leadership team and the school liaison team will be on hand to help you and answer any queries on the time. But please try and not stress too much about it.
Thank you. So the next question is from Ella at Newsham, and she's asked, what advice do you have on how to choose your subjects? So I think there are like a few main things to consider when choosing your subjects. And first of all, make sure that you're going to enjoy it, and make sure it's something that you're interested in and that you're picking it for the right reasons. I think wrong reasons are because your friends are taking it, because your parents want you to, because A-levels are so difficult, there's no point making it harder for yourself. The way to make the A-level and the next 2 years the easiest it can possibly be is that you enjoy your subjects. And there's going to be part of your subjects that you don't enjoy and you can get a bit sick of, but as long as you enjoy what you're learning about, I think that's the most important thing. Another piece of advice I would give is to, if you have any sort of broad idea about what you want to do after college and progressing forward to uni, I think it's worth like looking at some courses and just looking at what, if there are any requirements that unis ask for. I mean, I'll give myself as an example. I want to take politics and economics at uni, but I actually need A-level maths to do so. And obviously getting to this stage now and not knowing that, had I not taken A-level maths, that would be kind of a bit of an issue for me. And so I definitely think that if you have any idea, it's worth looking into what unis ask for like just to keep all your options open and not close any doors on yourself. And I also think you should read all the information available to you. The college website kind of has overviews of all the different courses, about the subjects. I obviously understand that you're not going to have the same experience that we did last year, as in getting to speak to teachers and things, but you can definitely read a lot about them on the site. And also, if you want to look on the exam board sites and read about the course itself, you can do that as well. I mean, I remember being completely determined I was going to take history, and then I read about the course and actually wasn't that interested in it. So I think that's definitely something to do, and I think that's kind of my overall advice in terms of choosing your subjects. This is one for Scott, and Umair has asked, are A-levels easy?
Well, I mean, it depends. A lot of people that I personally know have done quite well in the GCSEs but have found A-levels quite hard. I mean, one of the biggest sort of determinants on how easy you find it is how much effort you put in, because obviously the more time you put in, you're going to end up knowing the subject like the back of your hand, and it just gets to the point where you keep on working at it and learning and you get better. However, obviously, don't study to the point where it negatively affects your social life, because that's also quite important at college, because it's your actual, the way that you develop socially as a person also. So A-levels are harder than GCSEs. However, I wouldn't say they're difficult to the point where sometimes it can become too much. There's always resources out there where you can find help, and even if you go through periods of time in your life where you can't do work because of, say, personal issues, you can catch up. It can be difficult, but you can catch up. I mean, a lot of my friends, I know that's happened to them, and they haven't found it too hard to get back on track and carry on learning. So it's not too bad, though you definitely have to get prepared to work and to do work in your own time. So
Okay, so the next section is support in college. So the first question is, what support schemes does Greenhead have in place? So to start off with, in terms of learning, this like varies from subject to subject, but there's like drop-in style help rooms for some subjects where you can go and do your work and there'll be like a teacher there to help if you're struggling on anything. There's also study sessions that are sometimes run weekly, focused on specific areas of the topic. On top of that, you can contact your teachers anytime, you know, by going to see them or emailing them, and they'll always be like ready to help you with anything that you're struggling with. In terms of more personal support, you have your form tutors, which are there to like guide you in like other areas of college, or they might refer you to a careers advisor if you're like struggling on knowing what you want to do post 18. And also in terms of like mental well-being, there's also counselling services which the college offers. So yeah.
The next question is, what support is there for mental health? Greenhead College, they have a really great counselling service, and you can book an appointment with a counsellor, and there's always somebody to turn to, whether that's your personal tutor, your subject teachers, and all the staff at Greenhead College are really understanding and they're really supportive as well, so you can go up and talk to like anyone. I'm not sure, Mo, if there's anything you'd like to add to that.
Yeah, I think just to reiterate what you've said, and also said that basically your form tutor, your teacher, myself, the senior leadership team, support staff, everybody's there to support everybody around the college. We have a strong safeguarding team. There's 7 members, I'm one myself. So there's lots and lots of people that you can reach out to on a daily basis should you need to.
And just to add to that, I think it's important to remember that everyone wants to see you do well. You know, everyone is there to help you, and that's kind of, if you need help, ask and you'll get it. I think is what I'd really like to stress. So Scott, Rihanna from Dixon City Academy has asked, is it easy to fall behind?
I mean, if you have, say, a week off college, that can become easy to fall behind because, I mean, if you have 3 subjects, you end up becoming like 12 hours behind sometimes. So it can become overwhelming. One of the things that you will have to get used to when you have days off is taking some of the free time that you would normally have and just using it to catch up. Another one of the things is that if you end up not doing enough, say, work in your own free time, then it can also become easy to fall behind. However, I mean, when you're starting off, it's quite easy to actually get into the routine of it. Although it seems like quite a step up being independent at college and taking the initiative of doing your own work, it's actually easier than you think, because it's not like you start off in the first week and you get loads of homework and you have to do it all. You actually ease quite into it. Okay, so do these sort of things in your own time, and you don't really get shouted at or scolded if you don't do your homework. It's like, all right, then just make sure you do it and then carry on. So it comes down to how well you actually manage your own time, but it's not as hard as you might imagine it to be.
So the next question is from Hardeep at Newsroom, and that's, can I take my first year easy? I would really advise against that. I think you can, in terms of easy, I think you can take the first term at a little bit of like a relaxed perspective, I guess. You know, between September and Christmas, this is all about settling into college, finding friends, making a friendship group, socialising with people, learning about these subjects. I think if you're taking new subjects as well, it's kind of a really fascinating time. But I think that's, after coming back from Christmas, is where it's time to start working hard. I promise if you get to this time next year and you've taken it easy, you'll really kick yourself. I mean, recently I've been kicking myself for not doing even more. So I think that you will really regret if you take the whole of first year easy, because the content, I think it's, I don't think you'll understand until you start, but the pace at which content is taught at college, because it's such a short amount of time, is so much faster than at GCSE. And so if you take your first year easy, you've not got on top of a whole half of the content that you need to be on top of, and so that will really quickly catch up on you in second year, which is hard enough as it is. So I think the harder you work now, the easier it'll be when it really gets hard, and that is probably my biggest piece of advice.
The next question is, I'm worried about my first day. Any advice? Okay, the first thing I'd say is don't worry, but understandably, many of you will be nervous. Greenhead College makes your first days and your transition into college life really enjoyable and really smooth as well. And the first day is just to get a chance to get to know the college environment, your teachers, your subjects and the departments. And it was definitely not daunting for me. As for advice, definitely try to introduce yourself to as many people as you can. The first week or so is probably the best time to be able to go up to people that you've never met and just say like hi without feeling a bit strange. And everyone is in the same boat. And I've actually made some of my closest friends with just that initial hi.
Okay, so the next question is, how is bullying/disputes dealt with? And I would say by starting off that bullying or anything like this is really rare at Greenhead College, and because it is a post-16 place of study, Greenhead doesn't have to tolerate any bullying. So if it does occur, then that won't be tolerated whatsoever. And I think in terms of all like discussing with the rest of the student officers and personal experience, it's not really like a place, or like how high school can sometimes be like a breeding ground for bullying. It's not really possible just because of the sheer size of everything. But if it does occur, then Greenhead doesn't have to tolerate it in any way. So.
Lucy, can I just add something to that, please? If anybody who's listening has experienced a situation as described at high school and is worried about that continuing at college, if you get in touch with myself or another member of the team, either at the general email address that's on the website, then we can put support in place to make sure we can protect you and make sure that that does not continue into college.
So the next question is from Sebastian at Almondbury, and that's, how important is attendance? So I think attendance is really, really crucial because you will miss so much. I mean, I've already mentioned about the kind of the pace that work is taught at. So like you can miss a lesson and you can miss a topic from missing that lesson. And I think that because obviously there's so much content, it actually takes you longer to catch up than it would have done for you to go to the lesson in the first place. I found that I once was ill, I had a day off, and it actually took me like a couple of days to properly catch up and understand what I'd missed, because not being taught it and teaching yourself is like two quite different things. Obviously like the occasional day, if you're ill, that happens, it's fine. But I think if it becomes multiple days off in a term and maybe you forget to turn up to lessons, that will become a problem for you really quickly, and the only person you hinder is yourself. So I think that in terms of even like not doing homeworks, not doing consolidation exercises, the only person that you are harming is yourself and your own progress. And so I think it's been, well, it's on signs in a few classrooms that like if your attendance falls by 10%, that's a whole grade at the end of your A level, which can be the difference between you getting into uni and you not getting into uni. So I think if you can attend a class, attend it, because you will not regret going, but you will regret not going, if that makes sense. So moving on to any other business, we had a question about what is your favourite thing about Greenhead, and I think we're just all going to give you a little short answer about our personal favourite thing. So for me, I think it's the environment. I think I love coming to a college where I see people expressing themselves completely freely. It's such an inclusive place, and I really enjoy going to a college that is so inclusive. I really think it's a place where everyone is welcomed and fits in. There's such a big emphasis within college of valuing individuals, and I think that that's such a big part of our college lives. Like coming into college every day, I meet such different people and see people kind of really becoming their like true selves. I think we kind of all mask ourselves a little bit in high school, turn ourselves down a little bit, but at college it's just such a diverse and inclusive place, and I just really enjoy that kind of atmosphere and environment. So Lucy, if you want to carry on.
Yeah, I just want to mirror that mainly. I think my favourite thing about college is in the environment. Also in terms of like teaching, I think I really, really like the teaching at Greenhead, and I've had like, you know, you have lots of support, and I really feel as though everything is like properly explained to me in lessons. I like the freedom we have, not even in just terms of like your own study, but like rules in which like in high school that were kind of frustrating and you felt weren't really there for like many reasons, just like chewing gum or like being able to go on your phone during like breaks and stuff like that. You don't really feel as though you come into what sometimes feels like a hostile environment from the teachers. And also I agree with Abby in terms of being able to express yourself. I think many of my friends and myself including have gained a lot of confidence from coming to college, and just feel as though you can hang around with like people that are like you, and yeah, I really like it.
My favourite thing has to be the opportunities. I think there's always something interesting going on every week. And on our student bulletin, there's always things from like a university or a professional coming in to talk about a particular career, or a charity break sale. I think there's just always something going on in college, and it's a really like bubbly atmosphere, and it's just a really nice place to be.
Well, my favourite thing is probably the independence that you get, because compared to high school, you get a lot more freedom, but also a lot more responsibility. And so combined, that makes you feel as though you're more grown up and you're actually capable to do a lot more things. And that's really rewarding, because I know that if I want to go do something, I realise that, oh, I've done all this before, why can't I just go do this? And it actually helps to reduce a lot of anxiety that you have about expanding yourself and doing things that you wouldn't normally do. So that's definitely my favourite thing.
So the next question is from Lucy May at Manacroft Academy, and she has asked, what tip would you give to someone starting college? So in a similar fashion, I think we're all going to go around and just share a piece of advice that we've learned. And for me, you're about to watch me nerd out over stationery. So it's taken me a year to finesse. So if there's anything you take away from today, this is it. And that is a good folder system. So this sounds ridiculous now, but I promise you we're going to get so many pieces of paper, so many past paper questions, so many examples, so many graphs, so many packs. And hang on, these folders are going to fill up ridiculously quickly. So what I have done this year is I use one of these folders for each of my subjects, and that has like my current work in it. So that's the sort of thing I'll take to college every day, and I have one for each teacher, so I know that when I've got a lesson with this teacher, I have all the work that I need in that folder, so it doesn't take me ages to pack my bag. And then I'm so excited about these, I'm sorry, they got a good response yesterday when we were trialing this. I have one of these folders for each subject, and it expands, so I promise it fits in everything, and they were like the best £20 I've ever spent on Amazon. And I just find that having a really organised system makes me feel so much more comfortable with what's going on. I remember about halfway through the year, like everything was just getting a mess, and I had so many pieces of paper and so many stacks of like past paper questions, and I think being able to see all that makes you kind of feel quite stressed about it. So it sounds really strange, but I think psychologically, if you have everything tidy and you know where everything is, it makes A-levels seem easier. So that's my...
Okay, my advice kind of is similar to organising yourself, but in terms of your timetable and making sure that you make time in your frees to go and do extra work. And I think it's important to remind yourself when you get there. I think particularly for me, I started off just doing the homeworks and didn't really realise that I had to consolidate what I had already done. So I would recommend like as soon as you start getting into like more of the work, to make sure that you go in your frees or you go at home and you go over what you've learned from those lessons, so that you don't fall behind, because you've got the time to catch up and go over that, rather than at the end of the year having to revise everything in one go.
Yeah, I'd like to build on what Lucy said as well. Keeping on top of the content and making sure you understand it all before you move on to the next in class is really, really helpful. Ask your teachers questions about anything that you don't understand. Do exam questions to test your knowledge. It will really help you in your long run, and it'll stop you from becoming overwhelmed by the great build-up of content that you need to consolidate on. And it can happen quite quickly at A-level compared to GCSEs. So keeping on top of it all will really help.
My thing is probably to just try to be as efficient as you can, sort of like working smarter, not harder, because one of the things is, well, first and foremost, your organisation is quite key, because a lot of the time you end up searching for work for a longer amount of time than you actually end up doing it. But also, if there's something that you know, try not to go over it too much, and instead work on the things that you're weak on, and try to figure out ways to understand it and to remember it and to keep it in your head. And also, if you're, say, taking a lot of time on transport every day, do things like read a book, or do some form of revision if you can, or do little things every day that can save time, because it makes you feel a lot more like you have a lot more time, and it reduces a lot of stress when you have more time to do as you like. So
building on Scott's point, what I find really useful is like you can make online flashcards. So sometimes on the bus, I'll just like go through like packs of like random flashcards from a few months ago to see, like, build it into a long-term memory, which is like most of you will kind of take public transport into college. I think that's kind of a really productive thing to use, like your half an hour. So for the next question, this one's going to go to Mo. It's, will we actually start in September given the COVID crisis?
Yeah, really good question. The answer at the moment is yes, you will. We just don't know at this point in time how much of that will be on site and how much of that will be through remote learning. We've got different models all planned for. We're all ready for lots of different models for enrolment, lots of different models for teaching and learning in the autumn term. But it'd be wrong of me to say exactly what we would be doing now, because we don't know. Should the social distancing reduce to 1 metre or even disappear by September, then those, whatever I say today might actually change by September. But what we will do, I promise you, is we'll keep in touch, we'll let you know, we'll update you, but we will not do anything that will put anybody at risk, whether that would be students or staff, because we're also mindful that a lot of our students travel on public transport. So we will make sure that whether you are studying on site or whether you're learning remotely with your teachers and tutors support, you will have every other aspect of support that you need to do that. And that could even be helping you with IT facilities, as well as seminars face-to-face via this sort of mechanism, Zoom or Teams, in terms of having tutorials to talk you through and guide you through those early days and up until possibly half term or Christmas. But we will follow government guidelines, and I promise you we'll keep you up to date regularly with updates either on the website or in letters nearer to the time once it's been confirmed by the government what we need to do.
Thank you. So the next question is Mohammed at Dixon King's Academy, and that is, do certain subjects need certain equipment? So I think I touched on this earlier. Yes, certain subjects will need particular items. For like statistics and maths, you'll need a particular calculator. I think for sciences, you might need to rent a lab coat or like buy folders or whatever. But again, that will all be explained to you in the first couple of lessons back. So don't do anything now, don't buy anything now that you think you might need, because it's just not really worth it.
Okay, the next question is, are there any bus or train passes we can use in terms of public transport? So I live not too far away from college because I was in the catchment area, so I only have to take one bus, and I buy a weekly pass, and I have like half fare, because you can get that in the bus station, or you can order that online. But I also know they do like joint train and bus ones that you can get, so I would recommend getting like at least a weekly or a monthly, because you'll save money. In terms of train passes, I don't know if there's any savings or anything like that, but I know on the bus you can get your bus pass on your phone, which is quite easy, because sometimes you like leave it at home, so you can just scan that on the bus. But in terms of like being cost effective, weekly or monthly passes will definitely help. Does anyone who lives a bit further away want to like add on that, in terms of if you get a train or more than one type of public transport?
The other thing I would add is that sort of there are things like termly train passes that that are independently offered. Just try to look around as many places as you can, because obviously if you're only needing to get a train from where you are to college, it might be best to buy something that's specific to that train journey. So just look around online and you can't really go wrong.
The next question is from Holly from Honley, and that's, do I need to buy textbooks? Definitely don't buy any textbooks yet. Wait until your subject teachers give advice on them. At Greenwood College, most of the resources are online, and they're also on Moodle, our online learning platform. and they have like a really extensive range of resources that you can use when you're like traveling as well. So it's really helpful. And college will also make some textbooks and also the graphic calculators for maths at a discounted price at the start of the year. For example, the CGP guides that we all loved at GCSE, we also have those at like, I think it's half price at the start of the year. So definitely don't buy anything now.
So the next question is Sharon from Honley, and that's, do I need to bring my own paper? So I think my advice on this is that it's always good to kind of carry around some like lined paper, some file paper. I always put some in like my folders with my packs and stuff, because sometimes you'll need to use it for exams or like just making general notes. But I wouldn't say carry around like a whole notebook, because that's quite heavy and quite bulky to be in your bag. But I think make sure that you do have kind of like a few pieces of paper with you on hand, just in case you needed to use them. And then it comes for Scott, and that's, are there any lockers?
Sorry, Abby, can I just add on to the paper question? My subjects, I don't actually have anything in packs. They're all very much note space. So I do actually carry around like a refill pad of paper, because pretty much everything I write is on the paper. So if you're doing something like English or history, which I do, you do need to write a lot of the notes down on paper. So if you're doing subjects like that don't work in packs, then I would recommend bringing something that you can kind of write on and then just like rip off, because often the notes are quite messy. So you might want to like rewrite them somewhere else as well.
Thank you. Scott, lockers.
So there are lockers. They're not sort of, if you have seen sort of American lockers where they're quite tall, they are quite small. I don't know what you'll have had at high school, but you're not exactly going to fit everything in there. It's mainly just for like books and things that are quite easy, just to save for your next lesson instead of like lugging around with you. Sometimes you can fit sort of PE kits in there if it's not too big, stuff like that. Though you do need to get your own locks for them. So that's something to think about. I can't remember how much they cost. Do they cost like £5? Yeah. So that's just basically it.
The next question is from Cora from Hit and White Grammar, and she's asked, how does EPQ work and is it worth doing? Okay, so I take an EPQ, and at Greenhead it doesn't start until around this time next year, so it runs from April in year 12 all the way to April in year 13. At that point you'll be given a lot of information about it, so you still have plenty of time to think about it. But just a general overview, you'll meet with your supervisor 1 hour a week and they will guide you through the EPQ, but it is an independent research task, so it's a lot of independent study, independent research, trying to collate your own information. The skills that you've learned are really valuable and beneficial. I think it's something that I definitely wanted to do because of the skills that you gain from it. It's not for everyone though, because it is a lot of independent research, I said. But if you're passionate about something in particular, it's definitely a great opportunity to find out more about it, because an EPQ can be in almost anything.
Okay, so the next question is, what can I do to get more UCAS points? So EPQ is one that is quite useful for UCAS points, but I don't know much of any other schemes which can help get more UCAS points. So does anyone else know what else you can do?
Do you want me to respond to that one, Lucy? Yeah. So with regards to UCAS points, typically you'll do 3 A-levels. I think, as Abby said near the beginning of the chat, that some people do 4, not just with further maths, but with other subjects. Degree offers, should you go to university, apprenticeship offers, should you go into an apprenticeship, are based on typically 3 A-levels. EPQ is an additional way to boost your UCAS point score for students, particularly that are heading into research-based careers or university studies. But other than that, you shouldn't really need to do anything else to boost your UCAS score. What we do is we do other activities, which I don't know if they're going to be touched on in terms of questions, so I'll only mention them briefly, which is work experience, employability building skills, enrichment and other opportunities to help you enrich yourself to be a rounded person, so that when you finish your studies, actually you're very employable, and that actually under the linear A-level model is very valuable and will help you get to where you need to be, rather than actually doing too many courses that collate UCAS points.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think also like EPQ sometimes instead of like being more points based, some unis will kind of just lower the acceptance grades. So I know that some, instead of accepting like A star AA, it'll be like AAA with an A in EPQ. So the next question, I don't know if Lucy wants to take this one on. It's about the Oxbridge programme.
Okay, so we haven't had the chance to like fully experience the Oxbridge programme because most of it starts in your second year. But to start off with, we were offered kind of like a big meeting which explains kind of what is required to apply to Oxbridge, what kind of support you will receive, and then there was supposed to be some trips down to both Oxford and Cambridge as well, but they obviously were cancelled. And I know through subjects there's also some other chances to go down to Oxford or Cambridge, depending on like, you know, if it's like a HE plus scheme that's being run or something like that. And then I believe in September, if you get past kind of the original applications, there'll be like help with interviews or kind of aptitude tests and stuff like that. But Mo, if you want to kind of build on what I've already said, because I don't think I've covered it.
Yeah, thank you, Lucy. I would just say that it is genuinely a structured programme, so anybody that's in the Oxbridge group that's applying for either Oxford or Cambridge colleges, that you will have full support from an academic perspective, also from a pastoral perspective. So your personal tutor as well as your subject teachers will support you throughout that application process, in conjunction with Richard, who leads the Oxbridge programme. So we will make sure that you are given opportunities to prepare you in terms of mock interviews as well. We do what we call MMIs, mini mock interviews, to prepare you for your interviews at those colleges, as well as other Russell Group universities. It's not just for Oxford and Cambridge, but the Oxbridge programme will give you a step-by-step guide. And it's something that you should not be anxious about if you're going to go for one of those universities, but see it as a supportive tool where you'll get every opportunity to have the support you need at the point in time you need before you actually complete the process.
Thank you for that. The next question is something we've already touched on right at the start, but what can I be doing over the holidays? So obviously we've already mentioned that there's summer work set on the website for each subject, which isn't loads, but is something you'll be getting on with. And obviously if it's like a science or maths or something you've already done at GCSE, keep on top of your notes, keep it kind of fresh in your mind, because you will be expected to know it coming into start college. And I think the other piece of advice that I could give is, maybe if you're doing subjects that you've not previously done before, maybe just kind of try and read a little bit about them, give yourself like kind of time to kind of understand what it's a little bit about. So like if you're doing politics or economics, watching the news, like as simple as that, maybe trying to keep up with what's going on at the moment, because in lesson you will be using kind of a lot of current events, especially now. It's like a gift if you're taking politics or economics, because it'll be really interesting to study what's going on at the moment, and watching the news is really helpful for that. So I think just keep on top of what you know and look into what you're doing. So the next question is a bit of a random one. Is there a place for me to park my motorbike? Yes. If there's a place just outside the main college, you'll see it as you walk in. So yeah, Lucy, the next one's your question.
So the next question is, do we get any work experience? So I think it's this week actually that was supposed to be our pause week, pause, which stands for project and work placement. And so either you will do a work experience placement that either you find yourself or the college can find for you, and you could go like just somewhere close you have to travel to, or you might be able to go down to London. Me and Abby were supposed to go down to London together for our work experience placement. But there's also projects. So there's also in languages, they offer trips for you to work in Spain and France to be able to improve your language skills. And there's also other projects or trips that you can go on, ones that like exist inside the college that might be a few days, and you might swap what you're doing throughout the week. Or there's also, I know there's a cycling trip or a trip to like Hadrian's Wall and stuff like that. So there's all sorts of stuff that you can do.
Yeah, it'll be a really good week. I'm just very jealous about. That's probably one of the saddest things that come out of Corona. So the next question is another one for us all. Obviously, I'm a bit conscious of time, so we'll kind of try and be quick. It's, why did you choose Greenhead? So I chose Greenhead quite simply because it had the courses that I wanted to study. Not many places actually have politics as an A-level, and it was easy for me to commute to, and my high school didn't have a sixth form, so for me there was kind of a more limited choice, but I definitely don't regret it at all.
Yeah, I would say for me, my college didn't have a sixth form, and my older brother also went to Greenhead and absolutely loved it, so I kind of just decided further to go as well.
Even though my high school did have a sixth form, I was quite keen for a bit of a change, and I really liked the environment at Greenhead College when I came to the open day. And also I'd heard really good things about the biology and chemistry departments, and they're one of the largest in the country. So it means that they have a lot of resources to succeed in your A-levels. There's a lot of there's a wealth of knowledge amongst the teachers, and it also means that you always have one-to-one support whenever you want it. Yeah, and when coming into Greenhead during year 12, I've actually found this has been true, and it's been really nice to have access to a really good department.
I mean, for me, it was completely because of the environment. I mean, I went to other colleges on sort of open days, and I just enjoyed Greenhead a lot more. The staff are fantastic, and they always help you, and it's not just right, you have to do work. You get a lot of space to sort of laugh and socialise, and just generally to have a lot of fun whilst you're working, and that's one of the things that I enjoyed.
So another question is, will I get lost? Getting lost is a really big worry. I completely understand that. It was one of my biggest worries when starting. On your first day, you'll probably be given kind of a short tour of the college, but I promise it's actually a lot simpler than it kind of seems at the beginning. You'll really get used to the block system and what's where. But everything is labelled, there's signs everywhere, and there'll be loads of people around in the first couple of days for you to ask directions. But it's kind of odd because once you know where your classrooms are, you just don't really know where anything else is, because it's just kind of where you are all the time. So if you don't mind, just to speed things up, I might just take the last couple of questions and just kind of answer them really briefly. So one of them was about prayer facilities at college. There is a classroom, I think, in the M block where there's prayer facilities. And the last question is, are the wedges really as good as people say they are? In a word, yes. Trying wedges is initiation. If you've not tried them, you're not a true Greenhead College student. Wedges. Obviously the meeting's coming very quickly to an end. Thank you for joining us, and if you have any more questions that you want to ask between now and starting college, please feel free to message us on Instagram, Greenhead Student Offices, and we will get back to you as soon as we possibly can. But I'm looking forward to kind of meeting you all in real life, hopefully in September. You'll probably be around college wearing our green t-shirts. But I hope you've enjoyed today and found it really useful. But like I say, please get in touch with any questions. There were some that we couldn't answer because they were very specific to a person, but if that's you, please feel free to message us with what subjects to choose in between or what help you might need at all. We're all kind of not doing much else at the moment, so I hope this has been really useful, and we might be doing another one in the near future, so feel free to join that as well. I don't know how to end it, so I'm going to leave it.
Thank you everybody for joining and staying with us. We really appreciate it. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you in September.